Hello, and welcome to Federal Student Aid's presentation on what to do if your school closes. General information for affected students. You're watching this presentation because school officials have announced that your school will no longer offer educational instruction. You are likely feeling shocked, anxious, angry, and frustrated, and you're wondering what to do. We at the U.S. Department of Education are here to help. My name is Arva Thomas, and I'm a training officer with the Department's Office of Federal Student Aid. During today's presentation, we will discuss what your options are for finishing your program at another school, applying for student loan discharge, and several other options that you may consider. We'll talk about how to obtain your transcripts and academic and financial records. We'll answer some frequently asked questions, and then I'll provide a list of helpful resources. But first, try not to panic. Take the time to review all of your options before you decide how you will move forward. What is right for you may not be the best decision for another student. And be careful to avoid scams. Do not pay for any services, like for example, loan forgiveness, which the department provides for free. Let's discuss your options. You have 4 options to consider. You could transfer your earned credits or hours to another school. You can apply for a closed school loan discharge. You can apply to restore your federal Pell Grant eligibility. And you can apply for reimbursement from your state tuition recovery fund if your state has one. Let's talk about transferring those credits. If your school has secured an agreement with another school to teach out their programs, you have the option to transfer your earned credits or your hours to that teach out school so that you can finish your program of study. Check with your school to find out if they have any teach out agreements in place. You are not required to accept the teach out agreement. You may also decide to transfer to a school of your choosing, which has a comparable program of study so that you can complete your program. Check with your state agency or the department's college scorecard site to explore the transfer options and find the comparable program that is right for you. If you do transfer into a comparable program offered by another institution, that institution will evaluate your transcript, coursework, and the hours completed to decide how much credit to give you for the work that you've already done. That school will also identify the coursework that you still need to complete in order to finish your program of study. It is up to the new institution to decide how much credit to give you for the work that you've already completed at your closed school. So we recommend that you contact individual institutions regarding their transfer credit policies. Let's talk about a closed school loan discharge. If you are not planning to transfer to another school to finish a comparable program of study, you will likely want to explore your eligibility for a closed school loan discharge. Closed school loan discharges reduce or eliminate the amount of federal student loan debt for which you as the student borrower is responsible. A closed school loan discharge may actually cover up to 100% of the amount that was borrowed for your program of study at the closed school. You may be eligible for a loan discharge if you were enrolled at the time that the school closed and you did not complete your program because of that closure. Note that students who were on an approved leave of absence at the time that the school closed are considered enrolled. You may also qualify for a closed school loan discharge if you withdrew from the school and it later closed within 120 or 180 days of your date of withdrawal. Whether the threshold is 120 days or 180 depends on when your loans were first dispersed. If the loans were dispersed before July 1st, 2020, the school must have closed within 120 days of your withdrawal. For loans that were dispersed on or after July 1st, 2020, the school closure cutoff date is 180 days after the date that you withdrew. You are not eligible for a closed school loan discharge if you completed all of your program's coursework before the school closed. If you withdrew more than 120 or 180 days before the school closed, depending on the date that your loans were first dispersed, or if you are completing or have completed a comparable program of study at another school, whether that was through a teach out, it could have been transferring your credits to another school, or some other comparable means. For students that meet the eligibility requirements that we previously discussed, your loan holder will automatically send you a discharge application so that you can submit it to your servicer. You also have the option to contact your servicer directly in order to request the discharge application. If you do not know who your servicer is, log into your studentaid.gov account and go to the My Aid page. Note that you must continue making payments on the loans until the discharge application is approved. Federal Pell Grant restoration. A closed school loan discharge applies to your federal student loans. But if you received federal Pell Grant funds and your school closed, you may be eligible for Pell Grant restoration. This is important because federal law limits the amount of federal Pell Grants that you may receive over your lifetime. This is called Pell Lifetime Eligibility Used, or Pell LEU. Federal law limits a student's Pell LEU to 600%, which is the equivalent of 6 years of Pell Grant funding. If you want more general information on Pell LEU, I've included a link in the resources page at the end of this presentation. If you received a Pell Grant and were enrolled or on an approved leave of absence, either during the award year that the school closed or the prior award year, and you were unable to complete your course of study due to the school's closure, you are eligible for the department to restore periods of your Pell Grant eligibility. An award year runs from July 1st of one year through June 30th of the next year. Note that students who are reported as graduated from the closed school are not eligible for Pell restoration. Another avenue that students can pursue for assistance is their state tuition recovery fund, if the state has one. Some states provide funds that may reimburse charges that were not covered by other sources. For example, while a closed school loan discharge would cover the amount of your federal student loans, if your state has a tuition recovery fund, payments from that fund could cover expenses like private loans and cash payments that were directed toward tuition payments at the closed institution. Contact your state agency for more information and the applicable eligibility criteria. In order to take advantage of any of the options that we just discussed, you will need your financial and academic records, including your transcripts from the closed school. You want to check your school's website for information on how to obtain your academic and financial aid records, including your transcripts. Sometimes schools will include specific points of contact for that information. Another good resource for obtaining copies of your transcripts is your state agency. And finally, depending on the number of students who were affected by a school's closure, the department may publish a closed school fact sheet for the school. This is typically done for schools where at least 600 federal student aid recipients were enrolled. The fact sheet contains relevant information for students concerning transfers, teach-out, transcripts, academic and financial records, and more. I've included a link to the state contacts here on this slide, and also a link to our closed school fact sheet site so that you can check to see if your school is listed. Note that the fact sheets are listed in alphabetical order. Let's discuss some frequently asked questions. First one is, how do I find out how much federal student aid I have received and how much I have left? Well, you can go to your studentaid.gov account on the My Aid page. Of course, you'll need to use your FSA ID in order to access your federal loan history. Each student's eligibility for additional federal student aid funds will need to be evaluated independently. When you enroll in a new institution, be sure to update your FAFSA to include the federal school code for the new school. Then schedule a meeting with the financial aid office to discuss your financial aid eligibility. Next question is, can I receive a closed school loan discharge if I transfer earned credits from my closed school toward a comparable program at another school? No. If you transfer credits and complete or are in the process of completing a comparable program of study at another institution, you cannot receive a closed school loan discharge. Our next question is, I transferred from my closed school to a new school and enrolled in a completely different program of study. Are my previous loans from the closed school dischargeable? Yes, they are, if you meet all other eligibility requirements. Be sure that you read the eligibility requirements carefully to ensure that you qualify for a loan discharge before you submit the application. Our next question is, I recently enrolled at a new school in a program of study comparable to the one that I was in before my school closed. But I did not receive credit for the work that I completed at the closed school. Am I still eligible for a closed school loan discharge? The answer to that is yes. If you meet all the other eligibility requirements, then yes. Our next question comes from a veteran. I'm a veteran. Will I still receive my GI Bill benefits, including the monthly housing allowance, now that my school has closed? No, but you may qualify for GI Bill restoration if you were unable to complete your coursework before the school closed. If you finished the term, though, you probably won't be eligible for restoration. Visit the GI Bill restoration website for more information. And you can also call the GI Bill hotline at 888 GI Bill 1. That's 888 442 4551. Our next question. I'm a veteran and I'm interested in transferring my credits to another institution. What do I do? Use the GI Bill comparison tool to find the program that's right for you. You may also be eligible for personalized counseling and support through the VA's Education and Career Counseling Program. The program can help you find a school that aligns with your educational goals. And finally, the Student Veterans of America Advising Center can also help to answer your questions. Our next question is, I was using Department of Defense tuition assistance to attend my school before it closed. What happens now? Contact your DoD professional educational counselor to discuss how this may impact you and to discuss your available options. I still have questions. Does the U.S. Department of Education have a closed school FAQ page or other resources? And the answer to that is yes. Visit our school closure FAQ page. You can also submit a complaint at our studentaid.gov feedback center, or you may call us at the Federal Student Aid Information Center at 1-800-433-3243. To wrap up our presentation, let me review some critical resources with you. Now, many of these were included throughout the presentation, but I have grouped them together over these next two slides for your convenience. So you're able to access the school closure FAQs and the fact sheets, how to avoid scams, the eligibility requirements for a closed school loan discharge, the contact information for the various state agencies, and also the department's college scorecard. And then finally, general information about the Pal LEU, a link to our feedback center on studentaid.gov, information regarding the GI Bill restoration as well as the comparison tool. And then finally, for the VA, we have the Education and Career Counseling Program and the Student Veterans of America Advising Center. Thank you so much for watching our Federal Student Aid presentation on what to do if your school closes.